Hi, this is Marnie Downing. This is my module for Understanding My Community, Buckland School District. So first, we have the customs and traditions of the Buckland community. We do homecoming parades for both basketball and football. That's for the Buckland High School students. We do have some holiday celebrations that is done by the Buckland Rec Commission, where we have a Visit Santa Claus every year and an Easter egg hunt. We do have community suppers. Both are hosted by the American Legion. One is Veterans Day, which is obviously held once a year, and they do have breakfast monthly. We do have a county fair, but that's not held in Buckland. That's held in Dodge City for the Ford County. We do have a 4-H club, which is called Buckland Valley Boosters. We do obviously have our big parade for the Buckland community for Veterans Day. Veterans Day and veterans are very important to the Buckland community. This is the only district that I've ever worked for that actually takes Veterans Day very seriously, and we do not have school on that day. So we do have a parade, and that is followed by a wonderful meal of chicken and noodles at the American Legion. Then they sometimes have a small craft fair at the American Legion. That is then followed by a carnival, more like a fun night. There aren't rides involved, but it is a carnival that is held by the school, and school-age children are able to go and participate in that. They also do a silent auction, and the monies for that goes to a veteran in the community to go to the honor flight every year to Washington, D.C. So as you can see in this picture here, this is a memorial that is downtown that's been recently refurbished just this year by one of our students. I won't tell you his name to obviously protect his privacy, but it was his Eagle Scout project. That is downtown. I also included a picture of the cemetery that also has a memorial to their fallen veterans here in Buckland, or people that have been veterans that have passed away in over the years. So it's very important in the community for those people that have served and continue to serve. They often will have a special program for veterans during football season, and those people will go onto the football field and they will talk about their current service or their past service. We also do have Christmas lights downtown during the Christmas season. Memorial Day is also very important, and there is a service out there and at the cemetery, and we do an all-school reunion for people that have graduated, and that happens yearly. So the population characteristics or the demographics of our town, this is according to the 2010 census. Most of the education is, most people at least have a minimum high school diploma, and also have a bachelor's. Our median age is 35 years. 23% were from 25 to 44 years of age. The gender makeup is about 50-50, 49% male, 51% female. Our major employers is BTI, which is our Buckleman implement that does John Deere. They have their home office here in Buckland, but they also have other branches, say in Greensburg and a couple other places. The Buckland School District also is a major employer. Obviously, our town is very agricultural. There's farming and ranching. That we do have a retirement place, which is Hilltop House Retirement and Assisted Living, and then we have varying small businesses. Our race, our ethnicity, I guess, is 93% white and Caucasian, 2% African American, and 4% Hispanic or Latino. The nationality, I would assume the majority of us are American citizens. We don't have, say Somali refugees that have come to our community. That really happened. That's happened in Western Kansas, but has not happened in Buckland, Kansas. Our population seems to run between 700 to 850 people historically over time. The town was incorporated in 1909. At the time, it was a junction of two railroads. We still currently obviously have one railroad that runs the north part of our town. It is situated 27 miles southeast of Dodge City, Kansas, and obviously in Ford County, Kansas. So our communication channels, Buckland relies, like most communities, relies quite heavily on social media, especially in the face groups. So we have Buckland Happenings, which is for the community at large. We have the Buckland School Community, which is obviously just for the school. We have the City of Buckland, or the Kansas government, which is a Facebook group, and we have the Buckland Recreation Commission, and all of those are Facebook groups. Those are obviously used daily, multiple times a day, to keep track of what's going on, throughout the community. We do have a newspaper called the Buckland Banner. It's used, but it's only published weekly, and so I don't, sporting events and things like that are in there, but I don't know that it's really, I think Facebook is more widely used. Let's just put it that way. I'm going to go ahead and move this picture up here so you can actually see this particular picture here. This is a great aerial view of the Buckland community. Next, we have the community groups. They're sort of few and far between, unfortunately. We do have the Buckland's Booster Club. That's a sports club, and mainly dealing with high school students. We do have a coffee club that meets at the senior center, once a day. There are a church group, which is Awanas, that actually at the Free Methodist Church, which is right down here. It actually runs every Wednesday during the school year. Then we have the United Methodist Church, and this used to be our Presbyterian church, but that is no longer a functioning church and is used mostly for a community center. We do have a Boy Scout group that is very active. Unfortunately, we don't have an active Girl Scout group. All right, so I'm going to move my picture again so you can see what it is I'm talking about here. Okay, the next one that we have is we have the Lions Club, the leadership, or the community leaders in our town. We have Lions Club, and that's headed by Joe Davis. We do have a city council. Clay Sullard is our mayor. Then we have Cody Ward, Kurt Esplin, Brian Boselman, and Tony Dunny. Our business leaders, we have the Main Street Market, which is owned by Becky and Bill Frank. Buckland Communications is run by Jim Smiley. We have the C-Store, which is our convenience store, owned and ran by Rick Conradi. Buckland Oil, which is also our tire shop, that's run by Luke Knowles. The American Legion is also run by Luke Knowles. We have the the Buckland Recreation Commission, that is run by Travis Price. He also owns and runs a Buckland Auto. We have the Buckland Better Life Foundation, that's run by Matt Immel. We have the Buckland Library Board, run by Teresa Comerford. Charlie's Hardware Store, who's run by Charlie Nagels. This and That Floor Shop is owned by Teresa Dupree, and ran by her, obviously. We have the Girard National Bank, which is a larger set of banks, but they just have one here in Buckland. That's run by Ed Dewey. We have the Farmer State Bank, run by Shana Tilley. Pike's Insurance was run by Jeannie Clevenger. Bernie Auto Supply is run by Reagan Sullard. And our Buckland City Clerk is Ricky Hager. And the Buckland Hospital Board, which runs Hilltop, is run by Sue Scott. So, move my picture again. The economic conditions, we're a small farm community. There is no doubt about that. And we are very much agricultural based. So most people in town farm and or ranch, even teachers who teach. Often their husbands do farm. and do ranch, and quite a few of them live outside of town and do that. We have BTI is very important to our particular community, and Buckland Schools is also major employers. It is difficult in our town for small businesses to take hold, especially our Main Street market. You can see, isn't it so sweet, little market? It has struggled to stay afloat, unfortunately. We have also really struggled to keep a bar/restaurant in our community. It has gone through many hands in the 8 years that I've been here, and right now it's currently closed. COVID really didn't necessarily have a direct impact in Buckland, mostly because the majority of the businesses that are in town were essential businesses. They didn't need to close. I think it was very difficult. The restaurant was open at that time. I think it was difficult for them, but it wasn't for the rest of the employers. So the political structure, obviously I talked about that we do have a mayor and a city council. So social tensions. I would say probably the major social tension that we've had in Buckland within the last year was COVID. We did struggle with some misinformation, and we definitely had a feeling that isolation would bring safety from COVID, but it still came knocking. And we did lose some community members to COVID, which was very sad. And we are very much a Republican community, very much Trump supporters. I won't take the time to discuss my political affiliations. That's not what this particular module was about. But they are very much Trump supporters in this town. Our schools, we started and we have remained in person the entire time. We have never had a mask mandate in town, nor have we had a mask mandate in schools, and nor did we choose to follow the governor's mask mandates in the community or the school itself. We've basically focused on hand washing and cleaning the surfaces that children might have touched. So, previous community efforts. We did try to do a bond election a number of years ago to do some updating to the schools, but unfortunately it failed. We don't have anything new. We have a community park, which is run by the city. It's very nice. We also have a swimming pool that the community would like to have updated, but the money is scarce. They would like to open up a golf course. That would be nice. This is the Eagle Scout project that was done by one of our high school students just this summer, I believe, through Boy Scouts. It was his Eagle Scout, and the leader for that is Paul Petrowski. And so if you're ever driving through Buckland, go through and take a look at that. It's pretty cool. And we do have ball fields. Those are ran by Travis Price. We have one that is owned by the school district and one that is owned by the city, but the rec has a long lease on that. And Travis Price is the one who actually keeps those up and looking wonderful. So here is a Veterans Memorial that was placed at the cemetery. And as I've said before, that's very important to the Buckland community. So the power structure, we do have a school board. Obviously, that's one of our considerable power structure. We do have a city council and the business leaders, and especially BTI. Mostly because BTI is such a large employer and is actually relatively important in this part of the state, as along with the families that have owned and run BTI for generations. So they are, dare I say, a very powerful family in both Buckland and the state, and actually in the state legislature. So those are really your major players in Buckland. I'm not originally from Buckland, so I can't say that I necessarily know the ins and outs of the historical power structure over time. So the multicultural issues. Buckland is not a multicultural community. we're 93% Caucasian, but it is not unwelcoming. People here are very kind and generous to both strangers, and both neighbors and strangers. So it is. Now that may change over time. We may end up with more cultural diversity in our community because of, as you can see, the vicinity to Dodge City. We're basically, in a way, a bedroom community to Dodge, and we do have quite a few students that prefer to come to our school buildings as opposed to go to school in Dodge, especially students that receive special education services. They feel that a smaller setting is better for their kids. And so that has changed some of the dynamics at our schools, although it doesn't necessarily change our community because they don't always live in our community. But I will say the people in Buckland are incredibly kind. There has been many families that have chosen to foster students, not as foster care students, but students in the community, where their families are, some families are struggling, and another family will choose to take in one of their children and help them and make sure they graduate from high school. But they will do that quietly, and that's really great. So public opinions. Buckland does definitely support the schools. They were very happy, I think, with the COVID response when we did lockdown. We were able to do one-to-one devices. We did talk to our parents sometimes on a daily basis. I talked to my parents on a weekly basis, and to make sure that they had what they needed. We do student-led conferences. We do have parent surveys to help us provide feedback. We do use all forms of social media for transparency for parents. I would like to see us offer some parent training opportunities, especially for new initiatives, such as the student-led conferences, if we choose to go to standard-based grading and what that's going to look like. Our new curriculums, we have a new curriculum on language arts and then Engage New York curriculum for math. I would also like to see some training in the SIT team process and the placement process for special education. I think that would be less confusing for parents. So here's my references. I only used one, which came from Wikipedia, because I'm not from Buckland, so I needed some specific information on that. My major information came from Emily Evans. She's here. She is also our head volleyball coach. So I want to give her a shout out for helping me always. She is our board clerk, and she has answered many of my questions when I've been working on getting my master's these last months. So lastly, I have to talk about my standard correlation. First, we have the standard correlations. The module was a direct correlation to the standard. To be able to complete the module, I need to have an understanding of the Buckland community. I demonstrated this by learning about the Buckland community and ways best to engage the community members and families. By involving both community members and families in the Buckland school community, I will be able to better support staff members and ensure the well-being of both students and staff. So relevant. The assignment was a great way to learn more about the Buckland community and the community members. Much of the information I did know, but some I did not. Being an effective administrator takes getting to know the community you serve. It is imperative to understand what motivates a community and its community members. A school cannot exist in a vacuum. It needs the community and the community support to be viable and a great educator for children. And then we have reflection. As a special education administrator, I will need to support the community members. My job as an advocate for both staff and students with disabilities will require the aid of community members and community organizations. It will be crucial to build the relationships to ensure the well-being of students with disabilities. Many students with disabilities need multiple services, some provided by the community. I will need to be able to help coordinate those services. This assignment did help organize these thoughts. Okay, well, thank you for your time. This went much longer than I expected. So thanks for listening.